gosh. Hi. Hi. Hello there. I know how to start a video. Don't worry about it. Hello there. My name is Mackenzie. Welcome back to my channel, and thank you so much for being here. Today, I have a enormous wrap-up for you. It's the July wrap-up. And after how, hit and miss this year has been with my reading, I don't know why I'm still holding this pile of books. Each month either being really, really good or really, really bad. I wasn't really sure what to expect with July, but I'm really happy that I ended up having a really good reading month. So in July, I read a total of 16 books. That's 4,861 pages. 8 of these 16 books I read both physically and with the audiobook. 1 I read just physically. 6 I read just audio. 1 ebook and 1 DNF. I did include the pages that I read that book into this month, but only because it was 11. So I didn't think it would be too much of a big deal to just leave it how it was. So as always, we are going to go through the books in the order in which that I finished them, so that way you can follow my reading journey throughout the whole month. So in case any of you didn't know, July 1st is my birthday, and so I decided to start the first of the month, the beginning of the month, reading 2 audiobooks that I was really interested in. Both were starts of a series, and I really wanted to see if I would be interested in the series so I could continue to read the new books that were coming out. First was Every Heart a Doorway by Seanan McGuire. So this is kind of like a portal fantasy, but not, right? Okay, so this is kind of like a halfway home for people who fell into a portal into a fantasy world and for whatever reason are now out of that fantasy world, and they are just trying to basically adjust back to reality. This is the first installment in a very long series. I believe every January a new book comes out. I want to say they're on their 8th or 9th. It's a really, really good series so far. The first book was macabre and disgusting, but also magical and fantastic. And just the descriptions of each individual world and why that would appeal to each individual person. It was so beautiful and honest and melancholic. It was just so melancholic, and it just really hits this sweet spot for me. It was amazing. I love it, absolutely love it. I do want to have physical editions. No other reason than I am just a collector of physical items, and now that I really enjoyed the first book, I'd like to get the physicals and reread the first one and then continue on. I gave Every Heart a Doorway 4 stars, and I finished it in 1 sitting. And then after that, I picked up A Curious Beginning by Deanna Rayburn, which is the first in the Veronica Speedwell series. Now, so I saw Olivia Reads a Latte, read 'em, love 'em. Okay. And then I saw Katie Coulson also read 'em, love 'em. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll actually give this a try. And then Kayla from Books and Lala also read the first one and loved it. And I was like, you know what? That's it. That's the last straw. I must try it out. And I did. And I gave it a 4.5 stars. I freaking loved it. It was so amazing. It was great. So we follow Veronica, whose last living family member has died, her aunt who is taking care of her. She's a free woman now. She's a lepidopterist. Sounds like a raptor, but she's a butterfly scientist, and so she wants to go out on her next adventure. But as she's coming home from her aunt's funeral, she realized that her house is being burgled, and
we thought this place was abandoned,
So we came here to burgle your turf.
She has to try and fight off the assailants, but someone comes to rescue her, and that guy's like, "You're in danger. It's because your aunt died. Follow me." And Veronica, being so secure in her own ideas and thoughts and desires for the world is like, you know what? Yeah, I'll follow you, but only because I was leaving anyway. And so things happen, and then she is put in the care of Stoker, and they are like together as they're trying to kind of unsolve this mystery of why Veronica might be in danger. It's a historical fiction, it's a cozy mystery, it's woman main character takes no shit from anybody, and it's absolutely fabulous. Like, I can't get over how great it was. It was so amazing. So I read that strictly on audio, and 4.5 stars. The audiobook is great. And then I also decided that I just needed to pick up the physical of that one as well and continue to read that one. Then it was chore day, and I had to listen to a book while I did chores, so that way my brain could not focus on the chores. So I read How to Date Men When You Hate Men by Blythe Roberson. And first of all, I love the name Blythe. Just as the title describes the book, it is talking about feminist women who date men but hate men. And like, it's great. I mean, it was one of those moments where as I was listening to it, I was like, I know that this will never reach beyond the women who already think this way. You know, like, this isn't the type of book that is, and I don't even think that that was the purpose, that it would eventually reach an audience that it, you know, could change the mind of. But I don't think that that was the case. That was not what it was for. I think it was really one of those moments where women just kind of sit around and just like vent. And that's what it felt like. And it was really great. And Blythe Roberson is hysterical. She narrates her audiobook, and it was just fabulous. It was funny. It made me laugh. I teared up a little bit, but it was really, really lovely. I really enjoyed it. And I want to say this, because I don't believe that the purpose of this book was to reach an audience that it would change minds of, I think that it did fairly well, and I'm confident in giving it a 4-star. Now, if I thought that this book was actually trying to change minds, it didn't do that. But I don't think that that was the purpose of this book either. It was really just to talk, discuss, vent. So I did give that one a 4 stars, and then we moved on to my first physical book of the month, which was The Lying Game by Ruth Ware. Disappointing? I'm so upset. Like, I feel like this would have gotten a much lower rating if I really did it, like, based on like soul emotions. Like, Ruth Ware is my girl, and anyone who's been here knows. If you're new here, hi, hello, and welcome. Ruth Ware is my girl. But this one was such a disappointment. It was so boring. It was boring. I was never sure, plot-wise, what was going on, what the point of any of it was, what the overall plot was going to be, where I could expect this to go. And not in one of those like, oh, it's mysterious, it's keeping you on your toes. No, it's boring. And I don't think that there was an overall thought to this. It's much too long for how concise the actual plot points are. Also, this book is like highly discussing a teacher who draws his students naked, but it's not about that. This book consistently is talking about how, you know, it wasn't like that. They were just naked all of the time, and they, you know, were never abused. None of the characters feel abused, and it's just like, I don't think that this is a conversation worth having. Again, it just made me feel so uncomfortable. And like, these kids, they never wanted it to come out that he drew them because, like, they knew it would look bad to other people, but they consistently are like, no, it's not that way. And, like, they're actively trying to make the reader feel like that the teacher was a good guy, that none of it was bad, none of it was abuse, and I don't appreciate that. Not to mention the fact that the actual plot wasn't even that cool or interesting. The only death I want to say that happened was at the very beginning, and like, or not even the beginning, but it was like in the past. And you know, lame. It was lame. I didn't like it. 3 stars. It did the thing. It's not like it was offensive, and it's not like it was like entirely poorly written, and I'm not mad. That's a defining feature. I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed. This could have been better, and it wasn't. It did the thing. 3 stars. Did I do a reading vlog for this? I feel like I did. Gallant by VE Schwab. I gave this a 5-star. I did do a reading vlog for this, so I will link that up in the cards for you. I won't really go into too much detail here, but obviously telling you that I rated it 5 stars tells you that I absolutely loved it. It was just a beautiful masterpiece to me. The beginning of the month was rocky, it seems. Because then I read Call Me By Your Name by Aciman. I hated this book. I gave this a 1 star. I also did a reading vlog for it. I'll put that up in the cards for you as well. It was a 1 star. It was bad. Then I read Untamed by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. After Call Me By Your Name, I was like, you know what? I need something that I know is going to make me happy. So this is absolutely a crime novel. We are following Deanna. She lives in Baja California, Mexico. I know. I did do a reading vlog for this one as well. It is up in the cards, and I do go into spoilers there, so I will just let that be. Tell you I gave this a 5 star. I absolutely loved it, and another masterpiece by Moreno-Garcia. She can do no wrong. And then after that, I read 2 short stories by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. I read The Sound of Footsteps and also Flash Frame. I gave both of these 4 stars. They are short stories, so don't expect like a lot to be happening. But what did happen was frightening me. It was nerve-wracking. So in Flash Frame, we are talking about a person of indeterminate gender who goes to see a movie to review it, and as they're watching a movie, there is this split second where the movie cuts and a frame cuts in, and it is something crazy. Then The Sound of Footsteps is about another person who meets up with a childhood friend. They use a Ouija board. It's creepy. They were both very creepy. And you know what really made them a 4 stars? Because most of the time when I think about a short story, I'm like, it's never really going to get more than a 3. But what made these a 4 stars in such a short amount of time, I was horrified and very nervous. And if I have to go find and seek company after reading a scary thing, you scared me real good. You did it. Amazing job. Great job. And then I finished One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I originally gave this 4 stars. I'm looking at my rating right now. It's a 4 star. It's a very low 4 star, but it's still a 4 star. And I want to be clear on what makes this a 4 star because it's not really the romance. And I will say that this book is very long. So this book could have been 2 separate books. One about this relationship and one about this like time freeze phenomena thing, okay? And I feel like when you get a normal romance book, you have all of the normal things like small fights and things that lead up to big issues and then like one big climactic fight and then, you know, coming back together. That all still happened while also talking about this weird time freeze that Jane was going through, being stuck on this train, being from the 70s, like, it was so fucking long. It was so long. I don't think it needed to be this long. I don't think that all of the relationship bullshit needed to happen. It really didn't. It really didn't. And every time that they would fight, because it happened like 2 or 3 times, but every time they would fight, I would just be like, really? This is some petty bullshit right here. But okay. So I really didn't enjoy that. What I did enjoy is this very melancholic, kind of sad relationship that they both have going on where, I don't even remember, August, of fucking course, where August really went to New York to be forgotten and to blend in with a crowd and not be known. And then she ends up meeting Jane, and all she wants to do is be with Jane. And then she has friends and a family and like a found family kind of thing, and she really enjoys it. And Jane kind of helps her really enjoy New York. And then you kind of realize that Jane, she can't leave, and it's sad, and you realize she's from the 70s, and you realize as much as she wants to stay and be with August, she also really wants to go home and see her family and the people that she kind of left behind. And it was one of those moments where, like, in the 70s there was that big blackout that happened in New York City, and that's what caused her to be like time stuck, frozen, whatever they described it as. I didn't know that happened in New York, so it kind of felt like that moment when you watch Remember Me and you realize that, oh yeah, this is taking place in 2001 in New York in the Twin Towers. So like, it kind of felt cheap, but like, I really enjoyed the science fiction-y aspect of this story and the melancholic sadness of it. The whole like relationship part was not that big of a deal to me. Like, don't get me wrong, August and Jane's actual relationship was fine, but all of the romance book plot points that were stuffed into this also, which only served the purpose of making this a 400 fucking page book when it really could have been 250 to 300, like, it was bullshit. But it wasn't bullshit enough for me to not totally enjoy the other science fiction melancholic part that I've been talking about, you know? So like, go in and temper your expectations. Oh my gosh. And then I finally finished Heir of Fire because my coworker was like, I'm reading another book, and I was like, you know what, I'm finishing this bitch. Let's be frank, this is a third book in the series, and so what this book really does to serve the whole of the, you know, arc of the series is to move pieces on a chessboard and give everybody a little bit more motivation. But we've got to move all the pieces on the chessboard to get them into a place to meet each other and then do the rest of the story. Like, that's what it is, okay? If that's not your thing, if long series aren't your thing, this is not a series for you. Half of these books are gonna be moving pieces on a chessboard. But you know what? I was fucking captivated. It was amazing, okay? I don't care for Cowell. I really don't care for Cowell, like, at all. I hate every time it's his point of view. I'm like, God, shut up. I don't care. I really don't. The only thing that makes me care about Cowell is the fact that Selena is sad that she can't be with him. And I'm like, why would you want to be with him? Pathetic white boy that he is. Like, and then my extent of care for Dorian is that I know who he ends up with at the end of this series. And so I want to root for him and just, you know, see him grow to be the person that I know will be a good match for the other person. I'm trying not to spoil too much, but it's like the third book in the series. I gave it 4 stars. I really liked the addition of the character Manon. She was lovely, absolutely amazing, kind of peak for this book, because another go around with just Selena and her depressive thoughts would probably be the end of me. Don't get me wrong, Selena is great and she needs to grow and heal, but there's only so much like sad girl healing I can take in one series. I really need someone to be a badass, and Manon gave. And then I read The Wilder Girls, and this was a great surprise, so I ended up giving this a 4-star. I really went in with like super low expectations because I wasn't sure where they were gonna go with any of this. But holy shit, this was fire, okay? This was amazing. It was a YA, so like, it's not gonna get the 5 stars because in reality is not YA. Reality is not rated T for teen, you know? Like, it's just, reality is like NC-17. It's bullshit you should never have to see in your whole life. And I know that if this situation happened in reality, it would have been much, much worse. But what they gave exceeded all expectations. This was crazy, okay? So basically we have this school of girls who are on an island, and then all of a sudden they start to catch like this weird disease, and like their bodies start falling apart and mutating, and at first the CDC is helping them by sending food and supplies, and then all of a sudden one of our main characters' best friends goes missing. And so we kind of are investigating what happened there, and we're not only trying to figure out where the friend went, why they disappeared, but also everything else about the island and the disease and what the CDC is doing. Stress. It was stressing me out, but it was so good. And yes, I absolutely did give this 4 stars. And then I finally finished the Broken Earth trilogy, and it broke me a little bit, actually. This was so depressing. And it was also so depressing in the sense that, like, you know, reading the series that, like, there's no way we fix the world, you know? There's no way that we fix all of the issues that are afflicting the world in the sense of, you know, people treating each other awfully and this classist system, how awful the origins are being treated. And you know that whatever the ending is going to be, it's not going to fix everything, you know? And it, of course it didn't, but it fixed enough. And it was sad. This is why it took me a long time to finish and read this last book, because it's rough. It's rough. But it's beautifully written and gorgeous and full of like human hurt and sacrifice, and it was great. It was so lovely. I loved it so much. So I did give this a 5 stars, which I believe makes all 3 books in that series a 5-star, making this obviously an overall 5-star series, which is amazing. Recommend to everybody. Make sure you're in a good place to read it. Eat some chocolate while you do so, because it's a rough one. Okay, and then I read The Wizards of Once by Cressida Cowell. She is the author of How to Train Your Dragon, and I gave this a 3-star. It wasn't the best. It was okay. I think that a lot of that is because, like, I don't care about little boys whose overall goal and point in the story is to learn empathy. I'm sorry. I don't care. I live in a world where we live in a society.
We live in a society.
I know this is a fantasy, and I think this was the wrong time for me to read this story, because while it is 2 different perspectives, I mean, here and there, like, we follow 2 characters. We follow Czar and we follow Wish. And Wish is the little girl and Czar is the little boy. For the majority of this story to be focusing on the male character learning to have empathy for other people, while there is a side story of this little girl who is, you know, manipulating her mom, who's kind of evil and, like, being an absolute badass, and that is not touched upon as much as, not even half as much as, this whole bullshit with Czar. I also understand that I am not the target audience for this. I don't even know if little girls are the target audience for this. I gave it a 3-star. I'm calling it a day. I'm not going to give a middle grade a 2-star when I am 26. It's not happening. But I will say that I have very intent complaints about this. I don't think I'll be continuing this story. I did read it for work with some of the kids that I work with. So if they want to read the second one, then maybe we'll read the second one. But I can't bring myself to do it. And then after that, I decided to pick up the physical of A Curious Beginning by Deanna Rayburn. One, because I wanted a collection, and then 2, like, I had to annotate it, and if I was going to annotate it, I had to reread it. So I reread it. I gave it a 4.5 star on the second time around. It was still absolutely so amazing. And what really made me laugh about this was that I enjoyed it just as much as the first time around. And it just makes me so happy. Because I already reviewed it, I guess I just won't go into too much detail, but I absolutely loved it. I'm very happy that I reread it. I'm very happy that I have the physical now. I also picked up the second book, and I will be reading that sometime in August. So, love this, and I'm pretty sure I am going to do a kind of reading vlog that'll come out, I want to say the middle of August, where I'll kind of gush about this one a little bit and then do a reading vlog of the second book. So, dun 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 dun. Hi, popping in here, editing Mackenzie. Well, we were about to start editing, and then I was looking at my reading journal, and I was like, I felt like there were 2 other books or other books that I read that I didn't talk about. And then I remembered the 2 books, and I remembered why I didn't talk about them. So let's talk about them, because there's a very distinct reason why I forgot both of them, and they're 2 different reasons. I also picked up House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. This book is garbage, and I'm not taking questions or comments at this time. It's garbage, I think, 100%. The twist was shit. The twists I'm done with. Hang on, my cat's crying. So this book opens with this, it's all about rich people, rich white people. This book was so white, and I could not care less about any of it. There are books that are so character driven, like the Veronica Speedwell books, and I'm like, wow, I couldn't care less about what they do as long as I get to keep following them. And then there are books like House Across the Lake where I'm like, wow, it doesn't matter how good your twists are, your characters are shit, and I don't care at all. At all. Not one of these characters was interesting. Not to mention the fact that this is being written by a white man. I hated it. And every time, I'm sorry, but as a woman, if I'm scratching this area, this is my chest. I am not fondling my breasts. I'm tired of reading women written by men. I am. They do it so poorly most of the time, especially with books like this. Horror, mystery, all of those kinds of books have characters who are not really going to be the best characters because they're probably going to die. And as the reader, the writer wants you to want them to die. So that way when the writer does kill them off, you're like, oh, okay, they deserved it. Or something like that. It was such a gross taste in my mouth. It was and then he does that thing, right? Where it's twist after twist after twist. And then you finally get the last twist and nothing continues to make sense, especially in this book. I'm so upset. I will never read another Riley Sager again. I read this for the Literally Dead book club. I think that's the book for, we're in August. So I think that was the book for July. So that's why I forgot to talk about that book. Now, the last book that I read in July, I forgot the months, was Tender as the Flesh. I'm forgetting the author's name. This book was horrific. I think about this book all the time. What are words? I don't even know how to explain this to you. We follow a person who works at a meat processing plant within I want to say not even 10 years have gone by, but within this time frame of when we have switched from we have switched from eating animal meat to human meat. So he works at a processing plant where they process humans for consumption. I was thrown. I wasn't really sure what the point of this book was going to be going into it. And as I started reading it, I kind of realized that, like, there's a few different things and themes that we're talking about here. We're talking about, because they literally just changed the meat, everything else is the same. Like how they process these animals, how they're taken care of, what they think of them, everything. It's a discussion and a conversation about that and how awful that is and what we're doing, you know, with animals and meat consumption. And then we talk a little bit about, because the way this change happened, there was a disease that was affecting animals, and then when humans would eat that meat, it would infect them. And there is a discussion how, you know, things changed, and then the government stopped producing meat, but they couldn't produce enough vegetables for the whole population. And that was another issue that they were facing, was overpopulation of the world. And so in reaction to cannibalist groups, the government decided to make it legal and make it a process. And so there's that whole conversation about how that actually happens, but also a conversation about, did the government lie to us to fix overpopulation? Because that's what it did. It fixed overpopulation completely. Then there's also conversation and talk about how people view each other and how there's really like just no empathy, no care, no nothing. It's awful, it's gross, it's despicable. And then there's the twist at the end. And that twist did more. Not because of what actually happened in the twist, but because of what the twist represents. It represents our main character, whom we thought was one way, and we believed to be one way, is a different way. And I'm being very vague because it's not a long book. It's not a delightful read, but it's so intriguing that I wouldn't want to take anything away from your experience. So I'm deliberately being vague, but it is crazy to have felt like I misjudged someone so incorrectly. Like I didn't even know him. And it's so weird because, like, of course I don't know him. They're not real people. They're not real. But when you read about characters and characters are done so well, you should know them until you get something like this. And I just... it haunts me. Horrified. And so that's why my brain is repressing this book, because of how intense the emotions I have about it are. So I'm forgetting it all the time. I don't even know what to rate this book. It's probably going to be like a 4-star, but like, how do I give this book a 5-star? It is not my favorite. It hurts me. It wasn't fun. But it affected me so much. So much. And usually that's what my 5-star books are for. The books that affect me and I carry with me and have become a part of me. Like I have definitively made room for that book as part of my personality pie chart. So like it would be disingenuous to say that that book did not do that. But also, how do I sit here and tell you that that's a 5-star book? Wow. All right. I'm going to send it back to past Mackenzie so we can do our outro and all of that stuff. Thanks for hanging out with me while I recall some books that I lost to my black hole of memory because they were either so good or so bad. Okay. All right, so those are all of the books that I read this month. Let me know down in the comments your biggest hits, biggest surprises, biggest disappointments, and a new series you started this month if you did. I hope you had a great reading month just like I did. I felt like it was great, but maybe I just didn't, I was blocking out all of the bad ones. But hey, I'll take it. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a good rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye!